Hey guys, it's Arcade and I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm gonna show you how to make music like FLUME. This video is sponsored by Red Sounds and they hooked me up with their new pack called Chain FLUME, which is a great pack full of massive presets, serum presets and even audio samples, and it's a great pack for all future bass, pop producers or even more experimental producers such as FLUME. Link will be in the description below. So in this video I'm gonna create a track that is similar to FLUME's style. It's kind of a combination of multiple tracks inspired by his style, and I'm going to be using this pack to create that song. And first, let's set the tempo to 98, which is kind of unusual, but so are all FLUME's tracks, so we can experiment with different BPMs as well. Let's get started with the drums. So I'm gonna be using this kick called Roses, and this hi-hat as well. It's a good thing to combine kick and hi-hat together to create a more hard-hitting kick. Then I'm going to be using this clap and this snap as well. I'm doing a basic drum rhythm like this. But the second clap is going to be even more powerful, combined with this clap and this snare. So it sounds like this. And also let's add this hi-hat, which I kind of adjusted. Before it sounded like this, but I increased the time and changed the pitch so it sounds like this. And I'm just gonna add it like this, and don't forget to change the polyphony of this hi-hat so it doesn't overlap. This hi-hat serves as a good background noise. So let's add them in the playlist, and let's layer these drums with a crash. So just put a crash on each new beat, like so. And put one after another at the end here. Also, let's make the drums unique and add a little hi-hat right here. And maybe we can go to piano roll and adjust it a little bit before the actual beat. Also, at the end of each 4 bars, I add this big snare, which consists of a few hi-hats and this snare sample from the sample pack. By the way, all the sounds I'm using are from the Red Sound sample pack, except this clap actually. And in the second repetition of the drums, I add this noise, which is just a reversed crash, and I add these hi-hats as well, which look like this in the piano roll. I actually changed the notes a little bit so the pitch is different. And at the end of 8 bars, I add this little fill. I basically used a bunch of random percussion and created this little rhythm. I also have the swing enabled right here, which makes everything a bit more groovy. And the drums sound like this. And also let's add these reverse crashes right here. Next I started with these basic chords. So for the chords I'm just creating basic chords like so, but then putting some of the notes 1 octave higher, for example, and putting more notes in the actual chord so we have more harmonies in the chord. To create a chord, select the first note, skip 2 notes, put a block on the 3rd note, skip 3 notes, and put a block on the 4th note. And that's a basic chord right there. Then we can move some of the notes octave higher or lower to create some interesting harmonies. Also, if you want to experiment further, once you have a chord like this, you can change some notes like so, and just experiment with different notes, see what works and what doesn't. Basically, if it sounds good to you, it should be alright. So just preview the sound, preview the chords, and see if it sounds good or not. That's how I usually make my chord progressions, just based on ear. And as you can see, we have huge empty spaces between these chords, and that's fine because we are going to have some other sounds playing in the background, filling up the whole space in the mix. So for these chords, I actually used Massive, which I didn't use in a while, and I use a preset from the sample pack called Bells. It's a really cool FLUME style sound. As far as the effects go, I have LFO tool on it to sidechain it, and I also have some EQ on it to delete the low frequencies, and I boosted the mid frequencies a little bit as well. Next I layer the chords with another sound, which is this one. The The chords stay the same, but the sound is different. I'm using Serum for this one, and it's the one from the sample pack called Closer Inspired. The effects on this sound, I put a bunch of reverb on this sound with a lot of decay, and through the stereo shaper to make it wider in the mix. I also have the LFO tool on it, so the volume of the sound keeps ducking every time the kick hits. I also automated the cutoff on these chords, so they get louder as the song progresses. So the song kind of gradually rises and intensifies. Together with the drums, it sounds like this. So yeah, once we stack the layers with the chords, it's time for the bass. For the sub bass, I'm using an 808 from the bonus drums in the sample pack. It sounds like this. And I basically copied the root notes of the chords, which are the lower notes, and paste those in the sub bass. So yeah, the sub bass is really simple and it works very well. Next, I create another bass, which is not really sub bassy, but it's a normal bass, and it sounds like this. It's a really basic bass sound inspired by FLUME. The sound I'm using is called FLUME or FLUME, whatever you want to pronounce it like. And basically this sound kind of has its own melody and it's not attached to anything, not the chord or the sub bass. It's just playing its own thing and filling up the spaces between the chords as well. So together it sounds like this. So this is the melody of the sound, and in the second repetition I actually changed the melody at the end a little bit to create more variation in the song. And also I put a filter on this sound as well, so it's gradually rising and intensifies in the song. So to create this effect, I just automate the filter knob in Serum. Next, I created this glitchy melody, which is kind of inspired by one of FLUME's songs, where he created melody randomly. I didn't go as far as creating it completely random. I created the notes myself, but I tried to make them a bit more random, and here's how it sounds. So to create this melody, I basically put notes in piano roll and then hold Alt key to move them a little bit off beat, which creates this nice effect. And another thing I did is put some of the notes octave up, like right here, which also creates this random effect. So you don't really have to care about which notes you put where, because you are trying to make it seem like it's pretty random. So this is not exactly the usual melody you would see in songs. It's more like a glitchy effect in the background, but it also acts as a melody as well. For the sound, I'm using Massive and a sound called Lana Love. Then I layer it with another sound called Club, it's a plug sound, and another sound called Club 2. And also I changed the pan of some of the sounds, like this one is more to the left, and this one is all the way to the right, and this one is in the middle. This way we have this effect that is wider in the mix and kind of all over the place, which is really nice for this sound. And for the effects, I put a bunch of reverb on it, again with a lot of decay, and stereo shaper to make it even wider in the mix. This sound is also sidechained with LFO tool, and together it sounds like this. Another little effect sound I added is this sound. I'm using a plug called Retro, also from the sample pack, and this sound is a little fill at the end of 4 bars. I automated the filter cutoff and the reverb, and together it sounds like this. So this is just kind of in the background, but it's an interesting sound. And another thing I did is I put this sound all the way to the left, so it spans to the left, and then in the second repetition it spans to the right. It's just kind of a background sound that you almost cannot hear, but it's there. And to make it even more exciting, I continue with this sound in a form of melody right here. And this melody basically makes the chords a little bit more exciting. And with this melody, they have even more power and it makes it more interesting. So in FLUME songs and in songs in general, it's good to have these little effects that make it more exciting for the listener and add more variety to the song overall. And the next important sound is this vocal. Also inspired by one of the FLUME songs, and it's a serum preset called A, and it's a vocal preset as you can see, which is really nice. And I added this vocal in the second repetition of the song. It has the same effects as the previous sounds with the reverb and stereo shaper, but when I added this vocal I deleted the glitchy melody, so it sounds like this in the second repetition of the drop. And one last little thing I added is this riser. It's basically a plug, but I pitched it up and automated the pitch, and I also automated the tune knob, which makes it the tune more and more over time. And then it sounds like this. So it's a little riser in the background as well. And if we put everything together, the whole song sounds like this. Enjoy! And yeah guys, that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you learned something new. Definitely go check out this sample pack by Red Sounds. It's a great sample pack full of great massive presets and serum presets, and even really useful drums, MIDI files and construction kits. So it's definitely worth checking out. Link will be in the description. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.